Hey everyone, it's time for Good Week Israel, where we'll give you ILTV's latest positive highlights. Get ready to smile because coming up, we'll take a tour in one of Israel's most ancient cities. We'll take you to a wine tasting event of exclusively kosher wines, and we'll visit an Israeli winery with the most unbelievable backstory. Israel's northern city of Akko is a historic walled port city, which has existed continuously for about 4,000 years. ILTV's Natalie Tursky went on a walking tour to learn about the history of this ancient city.
The city of Akko has the longest and richest history in Israel. It all began 5,000 years ago. Its beginning was in Tel Akko, more commonly known as Napoleon Hill. So Akko was always a very prominent city throughout the centuries and was a setting for the rise and fall of many empires. Today we're here with professional guide and archaeologist, Andrew, and he's gonna tell us everything there is to know about this historic city.
Akko actually was established in an area which has one of the very few natural bays in the Middle East. So it was perfect for setting up a port. This place right here is where the city was established 5,000 years ago, called Tel al-Fukhar in Arabic or Tel Akko in Hebrew. Tel al-Fukhar means the tell of pottery, because you walk around and you see pottery all over the place.
The city then moved to its current location, which stands on a peninsula, resulting in an area naturally protected by the sea. This worked to their advantage because no large fortifications were built on sea, but rather at the land border of the peninsula. Tel Akko is currently being excavated by teams of experts from Haifa University and Penn State.
The tell has been excavated since the 70s, actually. This is the only place where they're excavating now, hoping to find more and more details about Akko today.
The city has been conquered and occupied by many empires, and when the Crusaders came in, the city was at its greatest. Quickly becoming one of the world's centers, it was the largest and richest city in the Crusader kingdom.
So we actually just moved from the place where Akko was originally established, where these guys called the Phoenicians were, and moved to a place where, for some reason, they established a new city of Akko over the time, 2,500 years ago.
We began to make our way into the entrance of the old city via a gate, which, while technically is 211 years old, happens to be the newest in town. But for those who know the history of this gate, its site can conjure up some grim images.
Built by somebody called Ahmed Basha al-Jazzar. That last word is a nickname, meaning the butcher. He was a very nice guy.
Where does that nickname come from?
All the killing he's done. What you see up here is something called a hanging beam. So they would be greeted by these hanging bodies, dead, here. Basically saying, in a way, hey guys, welcome to the city of Akko. If you don't behave, you're gonna end up here. Enjoy your stay.
This vicious act of barbarity gave a second thought to anyone thinking of rebelling. So, what are some of the things that we could see here in the entrance of Akko?
But you would be first greeted by this courthouse of the city, which is now a hotel. And then you have the main road, which leads you, funnels you towards, on one hand, the big mosque, Al-Jazzar Mosque, and into the market, the main market of the city.
Now, this must be one of the few cities in the country where the walls are still remained intact somewhat.
Yeah. Actually, the latest wall of the city has barely been attacked. And this is the wall that actually faced this French guy called Napoleon Bonaparte in 1799. And this actually is what protected the city from Napoleon, which led eventually to the failure of Napoleon here and him going back all the way to France, leaving the Middle East alone. And then they decided to build a newer, bigger wall which could withstand contemporary warfare at the time, of course, which we'll be seeing in just a minute.
So we climbed the wall to get a better view of the city, allowing us a 360-degree view of the surrounding skyline.
We're going up a tower of the Daher al-Amar wall. Of course, it being a guard tower, it's poking out of the actual wall. Akko sits on a very important intersection this would be 1,000 years ago the gate into the Middle East. And then when the Ottomans came, this place still maintained its importance for a pretty long time, up until Haifa was built and Haifa port was built, and then it became more important because the port is bigger. And you can of course see the mosque, the big mosque, Al-Jazar Mosque, or originally as it was called Al-Anwar Mosque, which is actually the second most important mosque within the Green Line today in Israel, mainly because inside the mosque there is a glass vial with a lock of hair in it, said to have come from Prophet Muhammad himself.
Well, we've only been here in Akko for a few hours and we learned a lot. Thank you so much for coming to our show. But for everyone else out there that would be interested in seeing the wonders that Akko has to offer, this is your man, this is your guy.
Next, we'll visit Akko's must-see open-air market that has everything from fresh produce to flea market treasures, with lots of places to snack along the way. Check this out.
Down Akko's cobbled alleyways, you'll find the open-air market, also known as the Shuk, which reflects the unique character of the city of Akko. The market appeals to all the senses, as you can see the colorful wares, taste the Middle Eastern delicacies, and smell the aromas coming from the spices and even the incense that is sold throughout the market. Wow, look at all this candy! Shopping at bazaars or open-air marketplaces is pretty common here in the Middle East. After all, this is where it originated. Five will do. כמה זה? תודה רבה.
בוא נזמין אותך.
אוקיי. איך אני אוכלת את זה? סתם? טעים. חמוץ קצת.
כן.
A little bit bitter. I've never tried a fresh guava fruit until I moved to Israel, but here it's ubiquitous, a fruit especially suited to grow in Israel's hot climate.
Akko, you know, is a very ancient city and all that stuff. But forget about that for the time being and just concentrate on right now. If you haven't had lunch yet, this guy, Saeed, has the best hummus probably in the world. And my kids come here and have breakfast with their friends, and no matter how many times you get your plate filled, it's the same price. And just go in, have hummus.
The exotic food and flavors of the Middle East doesn't end with hummus. You'll find sweets and treats in every corner. Whoa, these are the biggest rainbow cookies I've ever seen. I think we should try a piece. Slicha? Charlie, Tom? Chaticha? The sweets at the market are endless and will surely satisfy your sweet tooth. And what better way to wash it down than a tangy lemonade sweetened with freshly extracted sugarcane? It's your more creamy take on lemonade.
Tastes good?
Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Strolling through the market gives visitors a chance to experience and enjoy the taste of Israeli culture and is known to attract restaurant owners, chefs, and anyone looking for the freshest ingredients.
It's a nice place and nice things to buy here all around.
יש פה אווירה מאוד פתוחה, אנשים נחמדים, ובסדר, נעים וכיף לטייל פה.
It's fresh and it's less expensive than the city.
We've tried some great Middle Eastern delicacies today here at the market, but I'm getting a little hungry. I think it's time we head over to the more recent restaurants that opened up here at the Turkish Bazaar, Restaurant Mercato. The newly developed Turkish bazaar is a boutique market within the traditional market. It was originally established within the Ottoman Empire in the 18th century and has recently undergone renovation. So you have a nice little intimate restaurant in the heart of the Turkish bazaar. What is the energy like here on a daily basis?
Akko is very mixed population between Arabs and Jewish. So it's a little bit different from the other places in Israel.
And everyone appreciates the same food here.
Yeah, everybody appreciate the same food. We came with a little bit of something which is not familiar with this area. We came with the Italian food, which everybody really knows over here, the Middle Eastern food. We're gonna start with our signature dish, which is the Roman-style artichoke on a lemon cream. This is what really made this restaurant. It's actually a dish that we brought from Rome, which is from the ghetto Jewish place in Rome. We take the artichoke, we fried it for like something around 10 seconds to 15, and we put it like on a lemon cream. This is it. It's very simple dish, but one of the best. The second dish is going to be a veal tortellini that's coming on a yogurt with a little bit of peppercorn, lemon cream, basil oil and mint, which is the tortellini. Definitely it's going to be the Italian food, but we brought it and put it on a yogurt which is not really Italian. This is how we take it to the Middle Eastern twist.
Noah never has to go far to find fresh ingredients. With the shuk around the corner, an ample supply is always at his fingertips. Am I eating this with my hands?
You should.
If you drink kosher wine, then this wine tasting event is for you. The Xur World of Wine event is the premier tasting event of exclusively kosher wines with over 150 varieties to sample. Watch this.
In recent years, the kosher wine world has been booming more than ever. With new producers popping up left and right, the quality has never been higher or included more varieties.
Today we'll take you to a wine festival that's been all around the world in some of the biggest cities like New York, Miami, Paris, and now Tel Aviv. Let's check it out.
Cheers. The Xur World of Wine event is the premier tasting event of exclusively kosher wines with over 150 varieties to sample. The event encourages consumers to try tastings of many different wines from several different regions while still honoring their obligation to drink only wines which have been certified as kosher.
We'll get the best kosher wine that you can ever get. We have a wine over here that costs like 1,500 shekels in the stores, and from 50 shekels to 1,500 shekels, you can drink as much as you want.
Now, a lot of people out there may think that kosher wine has a bad reputation. Some may think it's too sweet or that good quality kosher wine is pretty difficult to find. But this event has proved that today's consumers can choose from a wide array of varieties.
Now, you have all the range of wines that you have in the regular market, you have in the kosher market. You have it dry, off-dry, semi-dry, everything.
Wow, this is tasty. What kind of wine is this?
So this one is a Chenin Blanc. It's a California grape, grown in California in the Herzog vineyard actually. It's an estate wine.
Herzog Winery has been producing wine for over a century and is now among the foremost producers of high-end contemporary wines.
We do many different levels of qualities of wine. We have what's called value wine, which is our Herzog label of Baron Herzog. And then we have our reserve programs, which are small, limited quantities where we produce more of the reserve wines that we'll be tasting right here.
But it's not just international kosher wines making a name for themselves in the industry. The event also highlights local Israeli wineries from across the country whose wines have been abundantly awarded medals and prizes.
Hi. We've been making wine from 2005. This year we're already 240,000 bottles a year. About 60% of it is exported.
Although Israel is a fairly young country in terms of producing wine, it still manages to have a diverse wine culture. Israel's vineyards are able to produce more unique tasting wine with an array of grapes on various soils.
Like it's very hot during the day, freezing cold during the night.
And that's ideal for grape growing?
Ideal. A lot of different kinds of soils.
And even the renowned Italian wines known for producing some of the best wines in the world have jumped onto the kosher craze.
So the wine bottles here are very familiar. You can see this in almost every supermarket in Israel, and every restaurant in Israel and America.
The first one, you know, probably the most famous one, is this Moscato, which is the #1 Moscato. Never mind kosher wine being sold in America, but it's #1 Moscato sold in the United States.
Rabbi Levy lives and works in the Italian winery, supervising 24 hours a day, making sure the entire process from harvest to bottling is certified as kosher.
I like the bottles here. Tell me about this
Bottle
one.
Beautiful. This is actually a new bottle. The Bartonneau Demi-Sec, which is this one. It comes in this beautiful bag.
Love it.
And this was made for the people that were saying the Moscato is too sweet. So this is Demi-Sec Moscato.
So let's face it, kosher wine did once have a bad reputation, but today it's no longer true. If you want kosher wines from specific regions in France, Italy, or Spain, it is out there.
Psagot Winery is one of Israel's leading wineries, but it's not just the wine that stands out. Psagot Winery has a backstory that is just so unbelievable, you're gonna have to watch this.
17 years ago, Yaakov Berg and his wife Naama stumbled upon something unbelievable. A 2,500-year-old cave, dating back to the time of the Great Jewish Revolt against the Romans.
We've been driving, then we felt something strange underneath of our car, and we found the ancient cave. The cave was full with mud almost to the top, so we need to dig.
And in this very cave, they uncovered something even more astonishing. An ancient gold coin from 67 CE, when the land of Israel was under Roman rule.
The Jews tried to kick them out, to fight for their freedom. And you can see on one side of the coin, it's amphora, it's a wine bottle. On the other side, it's a wine leaf, and it's written here in ancient Hebrew, for the freedom of Zion.
So crazy is that you were already in the process of building your own winery here, and then you find this coin that basically says your ancestors were doing exactly the same thing 2,000 years ago.
After we found the cave, we understood this is our legacy.
This cave has become home to one of Israel's most famous wineries, Psagot, which was chosen as Israel's top wine producer in 2018.
This is just part of the Psagot vineyards. They're located in the chalky terraces of the Binyamin region in Judea and Samaria. Every single bottle of Psagot wine is imprinted with an exact replica of the coin that Yaakov and Naama found.
Today, we're producing more than 300,000 barrels. About 70% of our production go to export. It's maybe the biggest in Israel.
So the majority of what we're seeing here right now is actually going to be consumed abroad.
Yes,
straight from
exactly.
Judea and Samaria.
If you really want to taste Israel, if you want to taste Judea and Samaria, you want to taste the land, that's the way to do it. So if you can take a look, this is that stone, this is the ancient wine press. You can see a hole just here on the floor.
Right.
There is one hole here and one hole here. They lift up the stone, I can show you the stone.
Yeah.
It's put a weight here, and all the wine used to go down here. Here you can, about 200 liters, can stay there and
ferment.
Ferment, exactly.
Today, tourists from around the world come to Psagot to see the historical landscape, take part in guided tours, and of course, drink some very fine wine. And the best part is that it's just a 15-minute drive from Jerusalem.
Where we're just standing, it's Psagot newest winery. It's going to be ready in 2 weeks.
You built it purposely with the idea of having this view, right, of the Jerusalem hills behind you.
Yes.
Why is that the case?
Listen, Natasha, most of the Bible stories happened around us, really here, long before Jerusalem was exist. Stories about Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, our forefathers. From here you can see the Jordan Valley, you can see the Dead Sea. Used to be the beginning, the house of King Saul, our first king, and a lot of the stories about King Saul happened here.
So as you're going to be drinking your wine from this very area, you're going to be able to have a view straight into the history of Israel, basically.
Yes, yes. This is the heart of the land of Israel. For 2,000 years, that land was a desert. Nothing was growing here. Everybody tried, nobody succeeded. We believe that part of the miracle of Israel, it's not just that we, the Jewish people, came back to our homeland.
Right.
Also, the land came back to us. And I think this is what wine represents, what vines represent. The story of Psagot is the story of the Jewish people.
Most Israelis are drafted into the army when they turn 18 for at least 2 or 3 years. But joining the army doesn't necessarily mean you'll be on the front lines of the battlefield. The IDF has its own radio, its own band, and it even drafts soldiers to perform as professional dancers. Or at least they did until now. If you're obligated to join the IDF, it doesn't matter how famous you are. And earlier this year, 2 major Israeli pop stars were drafted into the Israel Defense Forces, Noah Kiril and Yonatan Mergi.
So how you think you're free, but you're at my crib? And how you're giving up when you're going in? You say you gotta live, but you know that
Both singers are a pretty big deal here in Israel, so when they were enlisted for the army band, the military decided to expand their troop to include backup dancers. That's right, professionally dancing IDF soldiers. But it turns out the army didn't really understand what they were getting themselves into. After a video of a performance of Noah Kiril on an army base surfaced with 2 soldiers bopping behind her in full uniform, senior officials were not impressed. According to the army radio, the IDF's top brass doesn't like the sight of the IDF soldiers dancing like that in full military fatigues. To them, it disgraces the military. Well, as a result of the complaints, it looks like there will no longer be any more Israelis being drafted as dancers. Those already conscripted will be reassigned to roles that allow them enough free time to dance in civilian settings. But no worries, Kiril and Mergi will continue singing on stage, just without any backup. That's all for today's Good Week Israel. Hope we've helped you start your week off with a smile. I'm Nittany Manson. See you next week.